We just need to figure out what he's after.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
This is a part 1 of a 2-part series on what took place at the Pavilion Cafe. Part 1, this video, will focus on issues you could have only known about by attending. Part 2 focuses on the outcomes. We've had to make a part 2 video because the Chief Executive Margaret Asquith released a letter on Friday disputing the claims raised by the opposition, which is still unfolding, and we don't want to release a video that has no clear explanation for the Asons grant. In political comparison, what took place on the 11th of January in Bolton could be called the talk out at the Pavilion Cafe. On one side of the room, Labour councillors. On the other side of the room, Conservatives, UKIP and Liberal Democrats. In between them, Bolton Council and Clifford Morris. The layout of the meeting designed to show to the public the impartial political stance of Bolton Council. The gun in this fight was a single microphone that was carried like a golden chalice from speaker to speaker because Bolton Council couldn't afford another microphone after spending £300,000 on Asons. The meeting started with a PowerPoint presentation by the Chief Executive Margaret Asquith that only worked on one screen despite 2 being set up for use. Bolton Council, competent as ever. The public had to endure a mind-numbing hour of political fawning and admiration from Labour councillors for the Chief Executive in allowing this scrutiny meeting to take place, and now Clifford Morris had done nothing wrong.
And I'm thanking the Chief Executive for that presentation because that's making it quite clear for us all tonight.
And as in fact, emergency powers will be used.
Right. Why?
He needs a new Bentley.
So, clearly, if Morris resigns, the Labour councillors, who account for over 55% of the Corporate and External Issues Scrutiny Committee, will obviously have to admit that they failed in their due diligence in scrutinising the Asons grant. They had an opportunity at the Pavilion Cafe to show that their political party was not a factor in their questions. Instead, what we saw was statements. More often than not, any questions they used to attack the opposition parties. This was a review of the Asons grant, and Labour councillors only cared about deflecting blame and attempting to score political points. The public did not appreciate this tactic by the Labour councillors. Not one bit, and they let them know how they felt.
To raise this question of morality, fully knowing that the officers do not have a checklist asking applicants, what cars they drive or what their behaviour patterns are.
Well, they're asking for us. They're asking for us. We're the people that pay community tax. We pay for you. They're asking for us. We want to know. We want to know.
Now, we're going to show you some absolutely golden footage of how Bolton Council might feel towards Council Leader Clifford Morris. For now, ignore what Labour and Bolton Council say, because we'll come to that in part 2. Instead, let's begin by watching their body language and how Clifford Morris is treated by the Council. We'll start by showing you a silly situation involving pass the parcel of the microphone, which was intervened by the Borough Solicitor Helen Gorman, who carried the microphone back and forth between Labour councillors and the Chief Executive, which was actually a slower process because she has to walk to the person holding the microphone and then to the person who has to answer. It's in effect double the amount of time it takes to reach the intended speaker. Now you're probably wondering, why am I even mentioning this? Well, if you look at the seating arrangement, by putting Clifford Morris on the right hand side of Margaret Asquith, this means Councillor Morris has to pass the microphone or answer every question the opposition throws out. Well, the public do not react well to seeing Councillor Morris passing the microphone.
Not in possession of the details of the Oldie accounts for this when you were asked to sign that letter.
Shame.
In our opinion, Helen Gorman quickly realises this situation is making Councillor Morris and the council look pretty bad. She appears to intervene in this game of pass the parcel to ensure the microphone is no longer passed in front of Councillor Morris, thereby putting a stop to the ridicule of him passing the microphone and the public accusing him of being unaccountable for his decision to sign the £300,000 grant by not answering any questions. Helen Gorman is now in charge of that microphone, and she will decide who should answer. This has put a stop to Councillor Morris' ego piping up because of the public slating him and him answering back in his typical without thought answers, when the best thing he can do for the council is stay quiet. This is a great shot in which the borough solicitor holds the microphone dead centre between Morris and the chief executive, Margaret Asquith. If the borough solicitor hands him the microphone, he has to speak. Otherwise, she's just created a negative reaction from the public if he passes the microphone back without speaking. So it stays dead centre to allow him to take it, which he of course doesn't. Here's a shot of Margaret Asquith snatching the microphone off Councillor Morris. And here's our favourite shot, where the borough solicitor ignores Council Leader Morris, who reaches out for the microphone, and instead she gives it to the chief executive. There's no denying that the chief executive is significantly smarter, eloquent and confident in her answers compared to Councillor Morris. The general impression we got back was that any time Councillor Morris spoke, he made things worse for the council with his uncertain, wishy-washy answers. So we really can't blame the borough solicitor for doing her job in attempting to protect the council from its council leader? Which is a bizarre sentence to utter, that Bolton Council has to act to protect itself from its council leader. Only in Bolton, with such a complacent Labour Party, could this situation have ever occurred. There is the real big answer we all wanted to know at this scrutiny meeting. Why was the Asons grant made under emergency powers?
So let me make this point. The point here is, and in the future, we may well have to make emergency decisions again, because the reality of the situation is...
But what was the emergency about it? Because there was no emergency.
Answer what the emergency was.
It wasn't transparent.
That's what we want to know.
Councillor Morris, why was it an emergency? Come on, just answer that question.
So we will be in a position in the future again where officers will need to make a recommendation.
Why was this an emergency though?
To an executive member to say, the next meeting is not due for another 4 weeks. However, we need to give an indication to this business now.
Why?
You were already in.
Why? Otherwise, they will go elsewhere.
They were already in.
We never actually got a real answer as to why it was necessary and why it couldn't have gone through the normal procedures. The somewhat generic answer that came back was, lessons had to be learned, which is council code for somebody messed up, but we take no responsibility for the failings, nor will we take action. What actually happened, in our opinion, is that it seems to be that Bolton Council promised Asons the money, and Councillor Morris used emergency powers to make sure they got it. The chief executive started the night confident, but the revelation over the eligibility of the grant clearly knocked her for 6. You could almost see in her demeanour, along with the borough solicitor, that they've had enough of cleaning up this mess caused by incompetent Bolton Council officers and Councillor Morris. That's only a matter of opinion, based on their body language, but we weren't the only ones who noticed this or talked about it after the meeting. Which is why we're really hopeful that after that night, the chief executive and Helen Gorman ensure that an investigation takes place into the Community Empowerment Fund and the charity Leaveyune Park. We really want Bolton Council to be the one that exposes what has taken place beyond the Asons scandal, because I can assure you that on that horizon there is a much worse situation than Asons unfolding. So please help restore some public confidence in Bolton Council and investigate the alleged corruption. We do not need a smoking gun, and we do not need to do your job for you. All the evidence is right there at Bolton Council waiting for you. The failure so far on this council to investigate serious allegations that have been seen by tens of thousands of people is either incompetence or a cover-up. In part 2, we will focus on the scheme under which the money was given and the letter released by the Chief Executive. Thank you for watching, and please share this video so we can reach as many people as possible. Thank you.